Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return this week with an oddly 90s themed episode.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, we are doing episode 311, which is a band which got their big break in 1993, which is the same year the video game we're discussing came out.
How long did you spend on that?
About 5 minutes on Wikipedia. Not very long. But no, it was just a happy little accident. The happy little forest and the happy little trees. And before Crystal murders me, please take time. Follow us at hauntweekly.com. Haunt Weekly on Twitter. Haunt Weekly on Facebook. YouTube.com/HauntWeekly is the YouTube channel. Subscribe there. All the previous episodes are available. Easy to go back and find anything you missed. We're also on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And hopefully starting up soon, Sundays at 8 p.m., 9 Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. We do these live whenever we can. The temperature is finally getting reasonable. Haunt season is now over. So hopefully we'll have the time and intention to do it soon. So pay attention. Facebook.com/HauntWeekly. There'll be announcements there if we're going to do it. We're able to that week. But yes, indeed, we do hope to go back to live episodes at some point in the not-too-distant future.
Yeah, we've got to set the studio back up out there.
Yeah. We've got a lot of work we've got to do, but you know what? The temperature is actually reasonable, like I said, and honestly, I do kind of miss the interaction of the live episodes. I really do.
Yeah.
I miss, having people giving us suggestions and feedback and all that stuff. So yeah, it's nice. I like doing it when we can. But like I said, between the temperature and Halloween season and everything else, we just haven't had a chance. Hopefully we're going to get back to it soon. But yes, the year of the episode is 1993. 311, and we're talking about a video game this week. We like to keep things mixed up.
Yeah, we haven't done a video game talk in a while.
Yeah.
Done one once before, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about a video game that may actually help you build better haunts and become a better haunter.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a stretch, I admit it, but stay tuned. I might be able to make my argument.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things talking to you about this episode was how much influence this game had on your haunting as an adult.
Yeah. And some of the lessons I learned from and pulled from, and not even realizing in hindsight. In fact, it was kind of weird. The reason I thought to do this episode was because I watched one of the YouTubers I follow did a random Let's Play of it. And I watched it, and I watched him do the game's Haunting starring Polterguy, by the way. The game name is actually Haunting, and starring Polterguy is just like a subtitle, but it's always said is one thing. So it's Haunting starring Polterguy. But she did a Let's Play of it, and I had forgotten how much fun that game was, and made me really want to bust out the Genesis and play it some more and do it. So maybe we'll do that soon. But anyways, before we jump into the game, we have a few housekeeping notes to take care of. First, one of my favorites right now is we want to say thank you very much to Teddy and Boston for hanging out with us some today. They were here for Legendary Haunt Tour.
Yes.
They were able to break away for a little bit. We got to hang out. We got to go see a cemetery, eat some brunch, do some neat stuff, and basically chat about haunting.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, we did. And we learned a lot about their group, Syndicate Haunted House Group. Really cool stuff they do. And these two give me so much hope for the future of haunting.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea how excited I was to be able to spend the day with them.
Yeah, and then that's one of the things. We were talking about this with the Legendary Haunt Tour. We've been watching the video and the footage of it and the Facebook post and all that. And just how young this tour seems to be, at least from what we've seen.
Yeah.
How many young people, you go to HauntCon, oftentimes we feel like we're just about the youngest people there. We're in our 40s. Now, this is a very young group. This skews very young, it seems, and that is great, and it's amazing. And to see people not only this young and this passionate about haunting, but also oftentimes, as with them, in positions of importance in the haunt industry.
Right. Exactly. Where they can make actual change.
Yeah, they have actual change, actual influence, creative power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can do a lot of neat things, and
we hope to have them on soon to give you all some of their perspective.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to do a recording, unfortunately. But honestly, if we're setting the studio back up, it'd be easier to bring them on as virtual guests anyway.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, but no, it was a wonderful time. I really enjoyed hanging out with them and they got to see some elements of the city. Hopefully that they wouldn't have otherwise. And like I said, we got to chat a lot about haunting and some favorite memories and thoughts and concerns for the future and hopes for the future. So it was really cool. And I do think we got a great episode with them coming up if we're able to schedule time.
Yes.
Well, on that note, it is time for the question of the week. And this one's pretty direct. I'm not going to lie, it's on the nose. But the question is simply this. What video games do you think haunters should play?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think video games are useful broadly because, like, level design and video games and haunt design have a lot of overlap in the skills you need. How do you make it clear where to go while making it feel natural?
Yeah.
Things like that. There's a lot of overlap. I think like game design and haunt design have a lot of overlap. So I think video games in general can be very educational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we covered
Layers of Fear. Yeah.
Episode 185 is where we talked about 10 horror video games. So that's the last time we've talked about video games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Layers of Fear was part of that episode.
Now we did a whole episode on Layers of Fear, I thought.
Oh, maybe.
Hang on a second. But yeah, because we talked about it in connection with Aphantasia, too.
Yes. Yes, about how the map changes for people who can make maps in their head, but if you have Aphantasia, you can't hold a map in your head.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise you that it's a different direction.
Yeah, it's a very interesting game. I really enjoy Layers of Fear. A lot of people aren't into that quote-unquote walking simulator vibe.
Yeah, so is that your answer for the question of the week?
No. I was actually trying to think about it. Because, I'm trying to think what game would... I mean, Layers of Fear I definitely do think has to be one you play.
Yeah.
Just because of the way it messes with layout. And and also the way it tries to get you to look at the various scares, the way it tries to distract and startle you, basically. The writing thing's done very, very well. But I honestly think if I were going to pick a game, I would say the early Silent Hill games, Silent Hill 1 and 2, just because they do such a great job with atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they showcase how you can create a very tense atmosphere without tons of gore, without tons of jump scares and things like that. How to build an atmosphere, which is something a lot of haunts seem to struggle with, is building that tension.
Yeah, and so I have two games in mind for the answer. One is my actual answer, and then there was one that we played where it was like you got turned into little dolls.
Oh, Phantasmagoria.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Like, I don't necessarily recommend it as a game, but it was interesting because the little dolls were creepy and there was some tension there playing it.
Yeah.
You know, you did get that feeling.
And the game had an interesting mechanic where, like, the first few minutes it's a game where you're in a house and you're trying to achieve these missions.
Right.
And since the house is somewhat automatically generated, I don't know all the details of how it works. It's especially the first time you play, you're basically fuckered.
Yeah, because there's not a tutorial at all. But
yeah, so you don't know what you're doing. I don't think we completed any objectives the first time we played.
Well, no, we just ran away from all the little dollies that were chasing us.
Yeah, we really struggled with the game.
Yeah,
basically. But the first few minutes you're faffing around in there.
Mm-hmm.
They give you some room to breathe. They let you explore. There's nothing too aggressive coming after you. But as time ticks on, the villain in that game gets more aggressive until you're basically just purely running from her.
Yeah.
And nothing else.
Yeah.
Which means if you ain't finished the tasks by now, good fucking luck is what it means.
Exactly. Yeah, I would.
You should be done by now, dumb fuck.
Yeah, if you plan on playing that game, I would definitely look up the game mechanics beforehand. Not a walkthrough, not a cheat sheet, just how to play the fucking thing.
We ended up doing that, and we haven't gone back and retried it.
Maybe over Thanksgiving.
We'll have some downtime.
Yeah.
But no, we need to retry it because now that we actually kind of understand what's going on, we might actually at least be able to complete something.
Yeah. But I think my actual answer, and it's probably a controversial choice, is American McGee's Alice in Wonderland, the second game. Not the first. The first was buggy. But the second game, you get these fantastic realms to explore, horrible villains, and I just think that it's really pretty, really well done, and it shows how, horror can be beautiful. If you want, like they have an insane asylum scene in it, where there are people crawling on the ceiling, and, it attacks from different angles.
And by the way, the Layers of Fear episode is 109.
Gotcha.
We did talk about it for an entire episode.
Okay.
So we're not strangers to talking about video games on this podcast.
No.
But we haven't, as you know, we have not done this in a long-ass time.
Yes.
So, felt worth coming out. But yeah, I remember the American McGee Alice games. I think I preferred the first one, even though it was bugged to hell. Just because it felt more compact, more dense.
It definitely was.
And I think I appreciate that, but yeah, it does. I mean, yeah, I know Alice in Wonderland is basically shorthand for let's put it in something freaky here. It's kind of a cheat sheet. It's like going to Greek or Norse mythology for stories.
It is.
But at the same time, they are really very interesting games artistically, and like you said, make horror beautiful. It's terrifying. It's very disturbing. It's uncanny valley throughout. But it's all done in a very beautiful way, as you mentioned. So, yeah. So, anyways, that's our answers. What
was your answer?
Oh, I said the Silent Hill games.
Okay, yes. Sorry.
Learn how to build some atmosphere.
Yes, and then you got distracted looking for when we recorded that other episode.
Yes, I did. But no. So I said, the early Silent Hill 1 and 2, I think both of those are really good for teaching how to build atmosphere. And do psychological horror. Which is something we don't see in a lot of haunts. And I think American McGee's Alice is a great post about great game about making horror and terrifying things still beautiful and interesting.
Yeah.
Not just bug ugly.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that's our answers. What do you think? What video games do you think haunters should be playing? Let us know. HauntWeekly.com, HauntWeekly on Twitter, HauntWeekly on Facebook, and YouTube.com/HauntWeekly. We read the comments. We read the Facebook posts. We read your DMs. We see it all. So let us know. Well, on that note, Halloween Haunt Season 2021 is in the books. The Legendary Haunt Tour is over.
Yes.
It means the New Orleans area haunts that were doing that have had their last nights.
Yeah.
Everyone should be either just about done or really, really close to winding down. So yeah, Haunt 2021 season in the book. So now we get a little time to relax. And one of the ways I enjoy relaxing is I do love me some video games.
Yeah.
Currently playing Far Cry 6. Enjoying it. It's fun. But not really relevant to this conversation, but it's a good video. It's an interesting video game.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We all know it's hard just to walk away from haunting.
Right.
End of the year, you're kind of coming into a crash. It's like you've been on a sugar high for 6 weeks, and now it's about to come out from underneath you. So here's the thing. Here's a video game that will help scratch some of that I need to haunt people itch. The name of that game is Haunting starring Polterguy. Or just Haunting, like I said, with starring Polterguy being a sub. It's kind of hard to tell which it is, really. But here's the basic premise of the game. It's a game in which you haunt houses with the intent of scaring an evil family out of it.
Yes. Yes, this is my house. Get out of
Actually, no, you're not even doing that.
Yeah.
It's not even your house. Okay, the game was originally released in 1993 by Electronic Arts for both the Sega Mega Drive and the Sega Genesis. There was a port of it released on the PlayStation Portable in 2006. We'll talk about that a little later because it does become slightly more important toward the end of this. And in the game, you play the part of Polterguy, a quote-unquote punk teenager, and definitely use all the air quotes you want in the world for punk.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a green Slimer style ghost, but he's got he's human shape. He has a flat top haircut and a motorcycle jacket, and I guess that's enough to make him punk.
Yeah.
Video game logic. He was a teenager. He was killed by a defective skateboard, which, how fucking defective was that skateboard?
That might have been operator error.
Yeah.
So.
I have a feeling the skateboard may not have been wholly to blame here in this story. We might be just terrorizing a poor innocent family now.
Oh, yeah.
But his thing is, he is now terrorizing the family that sold the product, the faulty product. It is an isometric top-down game, which has got that 75-degree angle, and you're looking through the roof of the house the whole time from the top. And you basically control a ghost. You control a poltergeist in this house.
Yeah.
And the game has 4 family members, a father, mother, son, and daughter. We're not going to get into how they're just ugly Italian stereotypes.
Yeah.
And also, if the kid was killed with a faulty skateboard, right? And we'll assume it was the skateboard's fault. What the fuck do the kids have to do with this? I mean, yeah, the kids are little shits. They make it pretty clear in the game. They're little bastards. And they probably deserve it. But, I mean, what do they have to do with this vendetta? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they work in the assembly line?
Maybe.
But it has 4 family members and 4 houses in the game. And each house gets progressively bigger and progressively introduces new challenges and obstacles in the way. Now, your method of getting people out of the house is scares. Now, they call them frightums in the game, which is both horribly adorable and not something I think I can repeat with a straight face.
No, it sounds like a Halloween candy or something.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Oh, man, I want a Twix. I just got frightums. Type thing. It's like a disappointing Halloween
candy. Like the gummy insects and worms and stuff that are all mixed together.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, the quote-unquote blue frightums are automatic. You basically, what you do is, when you're roaming around the house, you'll see lights appear on various things. And the color of the light tells you the type of scare it is. And then you press the button, you jump in. And with the blue frightums, you jump in and jump right back out. Because they're automatic. What they'll do is they'll shake or they'll vibrate, and that'll attract the family member over to it because they're fucking idiots and never learn that if something's vibrating, you don't walk to it. You leave the room.
Obviously, you have to investigate to see what's wrong with it.
So it'll start vibrating, it'll bring them over, and then the scare will activate when they're in the optimal position.
Yeah.
That, in many ways, is my favorite right there, just because, for reasons we'll get into. The orange ones are manual. You jump into them, then you hit the button again to activate it. Your goal typically is to activate it as close as you can to them for maximum impact. We'll get into more of the strategy later and why this is important. And then there are the green frightums, which are definitely the most fun. Yeah. These are the manual player-controlled ones. You activate it, and then you control something that is now visceral in the room. And it can be anything. It can be a flowing skull that laughs and giggles when you press the button. It could be a shark fin, quote-unquote, swimming through the floor.
Yeah.
It could be a severed arm chasing after them like a bloody thing from Addams Family.
Yeah.
It can be just about anything, but you now control the object for a limited period of time and can use it to terrify and scare the ever-loving shit out of people. And the goal, what you're trying to do, is raise the fear level of each family member so that they'll flee the room. Because you got to get them out of the room first. But then eventually you want them out of the house. You have to get them scared enough and in the right position that they just run out one of the exit doors and never look back. You don't really have life in this game. And one of the things that I think is very, very cool about it is this isn't like most video games, especially from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is a way to die, but it is not in the overworld. It's not in the actual game.
Right, not where you're scaring the family. No, that's not where you die.
You don't die here. You have an ectometer, and it ticks down with time just naturally. You're using up your energy, basically, as you go, just move around and scare people. And it can be refilled somewhat. When people flee rooms, they drop ecto behind. Basically, every time you get a scare, they drop, instead of like peeing themselves, they drop a little poop of ecto.
Yeah.
Is what I mean. It's such a weird mechanic. I never actually thought about how that is like, the pee thing in Haunted House until just like literally right now.
Yeah.
But you got to wait until they leave the room to collect the pee.
Right. Well, obviously, you don't want to break character.
Exactly. So, they flee the room. You can scoop up all the pee or an ecto they dropped, and then go follow them into the next room and continue doing, and lather, rinse, repeat. And it can also be damaged by the family dog, who I hate that fucking dog. Look, I've made it through. I'm a child of the 80s in most respects. And I was a teen in the 90s. Child of the 80s, teen in the 90s, right? I never even wanted to kill the duck hunt dog. I thought he was a perfectly lovely dog that merely drove home the fact I fucked up.
Yeah.
When the duck hunt dog laughed at me, I probably earned it. No. I never really wanted to shoot the duck hunt. I wanted to punt this fucking dog off the face of the fucking planet. I want to kick a field goal with this little nameless bastard.
Well, yeah, because the dog mechanic is
horrible.
Like, it's crucial to the game because
it's not horrible. It's a game mechanic, but you do hate this fucking dog.
Yes, because not only can its barks hurt you, but it can also calm down the people.
Mm-hmm. So if you accidentally scare them into the room with the dog, or the dog, much more likely, meanders his little doggy ass into the room you're in, he'll bark and damage you and calm them down. Yeah. So it's a double lose.
Yeah, and he can see you.
He's the only living creature that can see you. And he's a fucking asshole. Like, I don't mind the ecto-beast. They have ecto-beast. The other thing, and what that basically is, after you clear out a room, sometimes an ecto-beast will appear and you have to have this little fist fight with it.
Yeah.
It's more of a speed bump,
you
know what I mean, than it is an actual problem. I never found the ecto-beast that difficult, but that fucking dog.
Yeah.
Because you could be there getting a good string of scares going, and that little dog, fuck you! I'm gonna go bug someone else in the house now, you asshole!
Yeah.
Fucking dick. Yeah, the dog, though, god damn that dog, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you play this game, you will hate the dog every bit as much as I do, I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once your ectometer runs out, probably because the fucking dog barked 3 times, you're sent to what's called the underworld. And it's very difficult to describe the underworld. It's kind of more of a mini game, really.
Yeah.
If you play through the entire game, you never actually have to go to the underworld. If you can play it without, losing your ectometer, you can avoid it. I've never successfully done that.
Yeah.
I've beaten this game many, many times. Never actually succeeded that.
Wonder if I bet there are playthroughs.
Someone has to have done this.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's got to be theoretically possible. To time your scares were just right and combine that with just a wee little bit of luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it has to be possible. But anyways, when the meter runs out, you're sent to the underworld. And it keeps the same viewpoint, but now you're in like this weird dungeon environment where your goal is to dodge villains and pick up ecto and then make your way to the exit. But there, if enemies touch you or you hit any of the traps or hazards, you take damage. You have a very bizarre life meter in the corner, which is your picture, and like the frame on the picture gets bigger, and then your photo gets smaller until it's just your eyes that are visible. And then when you get hit after your eyes are visible, you're dead. Damage is cumulative over the entire game, and you only have 1 life. So if you fluff that dungeon, the underworld, really bad in level 1, for example, the first house, just restart the fucking game. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just restart the fucking game and move on with your life. You'll be much better off. Besides, the first house is a lot of fun. Doesn't have the fucking dog. Dog doesn't appear till the second fucking house. Basically though, what you want to do is get in the underworld. If you have to go to the underworld, get in, get the fuck out, and try not to take damage. And the thing about it is this: I'm going to warn you, the controls in the game are very slippery. You move very quickly through this, and in the house, that is great. You kind of want that little bit of slipperiness because sometimes, as we'll discuss, you have to run and get ahead of people that they themselves are running.
Yeah.
So you need that.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So you need a little freakish speed boost, you know?
Yeah.
You need to move like that. And you don't have to worry about super precision in the overworld and the houses themselves because there's nothing that can really harm you other than a fucking dog. So you're not really so worried about the precision of the controls. In the underworld, that comes back to bite you. It's very difficult to avoid getting hit simply because the controls are slippery. So be prepared for a little frustration with that. Also, I will say there is a 2-player mode, but it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Basically, in the 2-player mode, you're competing for points. Because, points are always so fucking important in video games.
Right.
And you have to take turns. You don't get to, set up 2 scares at the same time.
Do you only get 1 life for the 2 people?
No, you each get a separate life.
Oh, okay.
So if one of you dies in the dungeon, the other one just continues as a single-player game.
Ugh, I hate that kind.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's just it. It's the only place the 2 players interact with each other is in the dungeon / underworld scene. Mm-hmm. And basically you're competing for the fucking ecto. And you have A, you're splitting it between you. And B, whoever hits the exit button first gets to go first.
Oh, weird.
Which is kind of naff in my opinion. So I don't like the 2-player mode. I wouldn't mess with it. But if you got a little brother or some shit, fuck it. It's there. All right. So why should you check out this random game from 18 years ago? This game is old enough to vote.
Yeah.
That's crazy. First, it's fun and hilarious. It's fun and funny.
Yeah, because I've sat there and watched you play it, and I've played it a little bit, but not as much. And the family's reactions are hilarious, and the cartoons and the animation in it are pretty funny.
This is, a lot of people give the Sega Genesis shit for not having as good graphics as a Super Nintendo, and it didn't. Not really. But when people really, fucking worked on it, you can make some pretty stuff for it. Very easily. And the thing about it is, the fright reactions are just hilarious. It's every cartoon fright reaction you can imagine. Like the little girl, the daughter, her pigtails will stand on end and be like the Jacob's ladder going up. Their heads will spin around like tops. Their eyes will literally pop out of their head. Things like that. The cartoonish reactions are just incredibly funny. And they're so varied and so many of them that even though you're playing this game for a pretty good amount of time and theoretically you should be seeing the same reactions over and over and over again, you really don't feel like you're seeing it for the 80 millionth time.
Right.
It is a lot of fun watching them. And the scares themselves are incredibly creative and innovative. Mm-hmm. There are 400 in the game. Some estimates said just under 400. Some have said over 400. So it's around 400 scares. That's a lot of fucking scares.
That is. That's a lot of variation.
I know I've played through that game dozens of times. I doubt I have seen every single scare. And one of the reasons for that is some of the rooms that you have, especially in the later houses, if people wander into them, it's because you fucked up. Mm-hmm. There's no reason they should be in there.
Yeah.
You just, fine, run his ass into the garage. It's a dead fucking end, you idiot. Why the fuck would you do that?
Now you gotta run him out.
Yeah. Yeah, but some of my personal favorite scares, one of the very first ones in the games, I think literally if you jump in the very first scare you see in the game, Frightum. It's a dartboard that vibrates, calls him over, and when he's there, it turns into a bleeding eyeball with the dart still in it.
Yeah.
It's just it's deliciously fucked up.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Another one is a marionette that floats out of a toy box and then hangs itself.
Yeah, and it's so funny because that's in the little boy's room. And I remember this one so well because the marionette comes up and it's just being playful. It's just like moving itself in the air. And
then it just kills itself.
Then just totally suicides on its own marionette strings. Like, holy shit!
Yeah, this is
like
a twist game, huh?
Yeah.
Dark quick.
There's a glass display case, and they're a rich family, so they got a lot of these fuckers. So you deal with a lot. But I love the one that just simply fills up with blood.
Yeah.
They're just standing there. Why is the glass case vibrating? Then just fills with blood, and then dumps the blood all over the ground.
Mm-hmm.
There are several things that go swimming on the floor over the course. We have a shark fin as one, and also a periscope, which is hilarious because the periscope has like a giant eye on the top of the periscope.
Yeah.
Though I think the funniest one to me is the little boy in one of the houses has a ninja poster, which just says ninja on it and has a drawing of a ninja.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
I mean, as you do when you're a teen, right? You just have generic ninja poster on your wall.
Yeah.
I know I did. I don't know what your problem is. So anyways, someone comes from behind, grabs the ninja and kidnaps him basically, and the sword the ninja is holding gets flung into the room and nearly decapitates the kid.
Yeah. Yeah, we do not recommend throwing swords, especially real ones, towards your customers.
And this one was real because it's stuck in the ground.
Yeah.
Point first.
Yeah.
There is a telescope that starts spinning so fast it just takes off like a helicopter or top.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite aesthetic ones is a red rug that suddenly just turns into a pool of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like the edges of it just get, deform, and it becomes a pool of blood rather than a rug.
Huh. I wonder if you could put a white rug that changes color when it gets wet and drop little mist of regular water onto it, but it would change red. Like whenever you, they've got the mats now for bathrooms that when you step on them, it leaves bloody footprints. That'd be kind of cool. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
A random lava pit opens up in the center of the living room floor.
Uh-huh.
That's where you're a lava pit. And the list just goes on. Like I said, there's 400 of them. And yeah, some of the scares are repeated. I'm not going to lie. I think the floating chairs in at least 3 of the houses, for example. Mm-hmm. But there's tons of new ones every time. And here's the thing. If the scares sound really messed up, like we started with a bleeding eyeball, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and this was for kids. This is video games that was for kids.
And to be clear, this is a very cartoon-ish video game.
Yes.
So it ultimately, even though it's got tons of blood and bloody effects and a lot of horror themes and motifs, it doesn't feel very adult.
Right.
It feels very kiddie. But yeah, this was in a time before video game ratings. Mm-hmm. So this game does not actually have a rating.
Right.
I suspect it would have been the 13 rating.
Probably, yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of gore.
Yeah, but it's like I said, cartoonish and not actually done against people. You never actually do any violence against the family.
Right.
You just scare the ever-loving shit out of them repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say it is not a very difficult game. It's more of a chill play. Especially since, like I said, in the overworld, there's no death state. Once you lose your ecto, you go into the underworld. That's the only tense time of the game to me, really. Because that's when damage actually matters. And your mistakes actually hurt you.
Right.
It's only 4 houses. If you beat it in one run, I think it's less than 30 minutes, realistically. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take very long to beat. But honestly, I think that's a good thing. Because it keeps the game from wearing out its welcome. Because, the scare animations don't get old.
Right.
They had enough content to keep everything new and fresh for that half an hour. And unlike what they do now with video games, they just stopped the game. They said, we've used up our content. If we do a 5th house, we're going to be repeating stuff. We're going to be annoying people, so on. And the result of that is... basically, it ends when it should. It's a short game. but it ends exactly what I think it should.
Mm-hmm.
But the main reason I want to raise it here is because this is a video game about haunt tactics.
Yeah.
And it took me years to realize that, but it really and truly is. Because the goal of the game isn't just about getting people scared. You can run around like a jackass and just activate random scares and keep going.
Use all your ecto really
Use all
fast.
your ecto, just running these motherfuckers in a loop. It don't do you any good.
No.
They got to get out of the room and then out of the house. And so what you learn very quickly is that there is a strategy to this. You use the blue for items to move people in the direction you want. You use like I said, those are the ones that shake and get their attention. So you use those like a breadcrumb trail.
Right.
You get them headed generally the way you want. So for example, like in one room, if they have 2 doors, one on the right, one on the left, but the one on the left takes you to a room that has an exit door on it.
Yeah.
You want them to go toward the exit door. So you use those. So you start on the right and steer them to the left, and then hopefully when they do eventually top out, they'll run in the correct direction. However, if that doesn't work, you can use the orange ones, the manual ones, to deter them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my things I like to do is if there's a door I definitely don't want them to go through, I'll try to save an orange scare that's near it, so that way if they do start bolting toward it, I can scare them back the other way.
Yeah.
That's the one time scaring backwards totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Is when they're going the wrong fucking way.
Yeah.
And you can use the green ones to kind of do both.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really great. And like I said, the goal is to scare them out of the house, scare them in a specific direction. And it's very similar to what we're always talking about in haunted houses with scare forward.
Right.
And that's always been one of the big frustrations of a lot of haunted houses we've been to, is they don't seem to understand that.
Right. There's, some scare backwards, and then we've got people, like, stopping in front of us. We crash into them. So that's always fun.
Yeah. So no, this teaches you how to scare forward, and the very basic premise of it. But it also means you have to have, like I was saying, a backup plan for if things go wrong. Like I said, usually an orange scare or a green one, if they get a wild hair up their ass and start running the absolute stupid direction, which sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But, so yeah. And yet sometimes, in spite of your best laid plans, they will still go the wrong way. But you know what? At that point, you've got to pivot your general strategy. And sometimes what I have found, if that happens, your best bet is to move on to a different family member if you can. Mm-hmm. Just because they'll wander through the house on their own. If you pick them back up later, they might be in a more advantageous position.
Yeah, because the goal is to scare them out of the house completely, one by one.
Exactly. So if you've got another family member, go take care of them or do some work on them, and that way they can meander and reposition, and then you can take another run at it later.
Right, and that means that you don't want to scare them into rooms with the dog, which Jonathan's very fond of. It's his favorite thing in the world. Or
fucking dog.
Or other family members.
I just hate the fucking dog can see me, can see Polterguy, but doesn't see all the fucked up shit I'm doing in this house and flee its own goddamn self.
Yeah.
I think any dog that's got 2 brain cells that click together go, oh fuck, that's a bleeding eyeball dartboard, I'm leaving.
Or when the bones start chasing him.
Yeah, exactly. When the bones start chasing him, I need to fuck out of there. Mm-hmm. Well, nope, not worth it. But no, this dog's an asshole.
Yeah.
He sees me, but not the fucking scares somehow. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so it really drives home the point of scaring in the right direction.
Yeah. And thinking about that the whole time and positioning your scares accordingly. Mm-hmm. And in that regard, you're kind of designing a haunted house in a way.
Right.
As weird as that statement sounds, what you're doing is you're taking a set of pre-existing scares.
Yes.
You're stringing them together. Uh-huh. Hopefully with the intent of steering the person the correct direction, eventually out the door.
Yeah, that sounds like haunted house.
Yeah, and basically you determine the order, you determine the timings, but you're trying to use a set of pre-built scares to basically make a haunted house inside a video game. And then you have to, of course, execute it flawlessly and be ready to adapt whenever they go off script, which they will. And the thing about it is this, though the scares and the reactions are all very cartoonish, the family reacts organically. This is only a 3 megabyte game, I found out. 3 megabytes.
No.
And they have some of the most organic and natural feeling fear reactions I've ever encountered. Basically, close scares hit much harder. Now, you always get the goofy reaction. You always get the goofy animation. But you have a fear meter in the bottom of the screen. It jumps much higher whenever the scares are close. So if you do a manual scare and they're on the other side of the room and they barely see it, not as big of a deal as if you do it right at their feet.
Right.
So they will... Go ahead.
And that's kind of how it works in haunted houses, too. If you hit the front or the back of the line, then the other end of it's not going to see the scare.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of haunts target middle of groups.
Yeah. So, the closer the scare is to them, the harder it hits. They will try to run away from the scares, that's how you use scares to steer them. You pull them by attracting them, by doing the distract, and then when you startle them, they'll try to run in the other direction from it. They'll try to run away from it, which is why those orange scares can be very helpful if they're trying to bolt in the wrong direction, because they'll often see it, stop for a second, and turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scares need to be timed within connection to one another. If they're too close together, they can overlap, and they can be missed, or just not have its full impact. And if they're too far apart, they will have time to recover.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is get your timing about right. It needs to be a rhythm to it. You know what I mean? Don't let up, but at the same breath, don't make them crash on top of one another. You also need to use a variety of scares. I don't know if this is in the game's code, but my experience with it, using a variety, using a combination of blue, orange, and green, works better. And you have to know when to stop. This is in many ways the hardest thing. Because if you don't stop at the right fucking time, they won't run. You can just get them stuck in an infinite fucking loop.
Of where they're just terrified and running in circles?
Yeah, basically, where they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're now spending way more time in this room than they need to be, and guess what? Tick-tock, motherfucker, you're on the clock!
Yeah, I mean, and think about it, if that happens in your haunt, then, that kills your throughput, because we've had people that have got, not in a while, because we've learned better layout, but we've had people that, got stuck on the floor, like, kicking and screaming, and it was hard to move them out of the room.
Yeah, when no amount of character breaking or reassurances fix that. And you can have a very similar problem in the game, because if you keep doing scares after they've made the decision to leave,
right,
they're going to spend more time in the room, they're probably going to go the wrong way, and they're going to be much more unsure when they do leave.
Right.
Basically, you want to get them to the point that they want to leave and stop.
Yeah.
Quit fucking with them. Get them to the point where they're leaving and going the right way and stop. And that's a thing you have to do in a haunted house, too. You got to know when to let up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you don't want to accidentally get someone stuck in a loop. It's embarrassing and bad. All right. And the final reason is to get scare ideas for your haunt. No, you can't make a lava pit open up in a floor. But here's the thing. I bet you can make a chair float.
Yeah. Well, and and now they've got the LCD fuller panels, like they started using on the ramp on AEW.
Yeah, and
so you could probably do some pretty cool effects with that.
Yeah, you can do some neat things, but you can get scare ideas and find ways to make them apply for your haunt. There are several scares in there that I would like to find a way to implement in a physical space.
Yeah,
just because. They're interesting. One of my favorites in there was there's a closed closet door that when you activate it, it spins around on a center pole rather than on the hinges.
Yeah, instead of opening like
a door,
normal closet.
It spins, yeah. Spins. And then with them, there was a skeleton on the other side of it. You can do that in a haunted house so easily.
Yeah.
You just have to put a door, drill a hole through it, have a center pole on it, and then have a skeleton on one side, and it can be actor controlled even. Spin it around. Yeah, you can do that. That is easy.
Yeah, we've done doors that don't open like doors should.
Yeah.
You know, we've got one in there right now.
So my advice is, if you're a haunty person, keep a notepad handy while you're playing.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to get at least a couple of interesting ideas. Or at least, the very least, you can also watch a few Let's Plays and things online too and see a lot of it. Though, as someone that's played that game so much, I find watching Let's Plays of it very frustrating.
Yes, but if you never have, you won't find that frustration.
Yeah, because it's like, watching people do Let's Plays of games you're very familiar with is just nails on a chalkboard to me. No! That's not how you fucking do that! You're fucking it up! You just know every little thing they're screwing up. And it's like, oh my god, and it just drives you so no shit, you went back to the underworld.
Yeah.
You spent 3 fucking weeks on the dad.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you can get him out in 2 rooms. Oh man, it's one of those things. So yeah. Anyways, we do have some bad news though.
Mm-hmm.
If I've sold you on this game, and I hopefully have pretty well, it's going to be tough to get.
Yeah.
I did not realize this until I started this research for this, but it's a 1993 Genesis game, and it wasn't super popular. Even though it was released by Electronic Arts, one of the major publishers at that time, you can't get a used copy of it cheap. So if you have that Genesis or Mega Drive hanging out, used copies sell at around $80.
Yeah.
Some of them on like eBay were going for like $200. I was able to find one much cheaper, but the seller was a bit sus. So I don't know. But it looks like it's hovering between $100 and $80 and $120 or so. And it's not available on any of the virtual consoles or any of the app stores, which boggles the fucking mind that it's not. Like, this is Electronic Arts. This isn't some publisher or developer that went under.
Right. No, this seems like something that should be doable.
Yeah. Just put these on the fucking Switch.
Yeah.
Put these on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, here's the thing. I was thinking about it when I was writing the show notes. Electronic Arts, I mean, everyone bitches about EA in 2021 because they're a fucking evil, scum-sucking company now. Mm-hmm. I get it. But in the mid-90s, on the Genesis and Sega and Super Nintendo era, they were on a goddamn tear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just Haunting starring Polterguy. They had the entire Road Rash series.
Right.
The Strike series, Desert Strike, Urban Strike, Jungle Strike, the helicopter shooting games were a lot of fun. Let's see, what else was there? The Mutant League series, Mutant League Football, Mutant League Hockey were EA. I mean, Skitchin, the quote-unquote sequel to the Road Rash series.
Yeah.
They had a lot of amazing games. General Chaos, too, was EA. So many great games. Just fucking release them for modern consoles or PC. Put them on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
I will bust out the controller and play these games again. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
I'll pay you $20 for the privilege. Let's go. So yeah, it's not available anywhere. Now, there was a semi-modern release in 2006. It was on the PlayStation Portable, PSP, as part of the EA Retro Play Pack. It actually includes the Strike games I mentioned. I think it includes 2 of them, but not all of them. Mutant League Football, no Mutant League Hockey, because fuck me, right? I mean, I'm like the only person that's a fan of Mutant League Hockey, I think. All the Genesis Road Rash games, 1, 2, and 3. Seriously, skip 1, play 2. If you think you have fond memories of Road Rash 1, you're lying to yourself. You have fond memories of Road Rash 2. And also the Wing Commander games from the era. So it's got a lot of neat stuff in there. Unfortunately, no General Chaos, so boo that. But it looks awesome. It was $20, and you can get used copies of that for around $30 pretty easily.
Yeah.
And that one's much more recent, much more common. So my question, though, is, it's been 14 years since that release. And it was 13 years between when Haunting came out and when that came out. Mm-hmm. So it's like halfway point between then and now.
Right.
Why haven't they re-released it?
I don't know, because they aren't as much about, restarting series as TV shows.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent and very creative game that is ripe for at least a re-release of the old version.
Yeah.
But I think it could also be very easily just done as a modern game and just redo it. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because it's such a unique gameplay. There's no other game like this.
Right.
It's not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's so bizarre having a game where you play the poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I cannot recommend downloading ROMs or pirated copies. Both my work and my personal ethics forbid me from doing that. But I'm going to be honest and say it may realistically be the only way people can play it in 2021. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it isn't maybe the only possibility. That said, I do know, at least last I'd heard, emulating the Genesis was super wonky.
Yeah.
Because apparently, like, the Genesis had a dedicated chip to programming the shadow that's displayed in games like this. So it's like, wow, they had a dedicated chip for the shadow, and emulating that on a modern computer is surprisingly difficult, apparently. But anyways, good luck and happy haunting, starring Polterguy. So yeah, I really do think this is a game that needs a re-release desperately, and it's one that can teach haunters a lot about the art of haunting, especially when it comes to timing scares, placing scares, and steering humanity through scares.
Yeah, and, learning how to deal with customers that don't react predictably.
Yeah. And why you do want to murder dogs.
Yeah.
Seriously, fuck that dog.
No.
Just, they're minding my own shit. He walks and bark, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, it's close to, what I'm looking for now. What I'm looking for now that I haven't been able to find, if anybody's heard about it, you can let us know, is a game where you basically build a haunted house and watch customers go through it.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think that is a game. I
really want
like
that.
Sim Haunted House.
Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I do think that is something that... Because they have sim games for every other fucking thing.
Exactly.
They got Sim Roller Coaster, they got Sim fucking, Dog Shit Tycoon, and whatever else they got. I mean, they have something... They got Euro Truck Simulator. There are games where you do nothing but drive a boring-ass fucking truck across a continent.
Yeah.
Someone needs to make a Sim Haunted House.
Yeah.
It just seems that much more obvious when you put it like that. I mean, they have fucking train simulators that people spend thousands of fucking dollars on, buying all the bits and bobs just to drive a fucking train. You know what? You can go drive a train. You can go get training and drive the train and get paid for it.
Yeah.
People get paid for doing that. You don't have to do it in a video game. It's not, the reason I want to play, car racing game, because I don't have that kind of money. I can't go racing cars. Video game's the best shot I got,
Yeah.
I can't play in the NFL, so you play in a sports game, right? You can learn to drive a train. You can be a diner. You can be a waitress. You can be things.
Yeah, I'm just building out this game in my head, and I'm like, okay, so I want things like drop panel, a ceiling scare, scare from below, and then like surprise inspection from the fire marshal. Right before you open, you've got a pass inspection,
and you have to manage staffing issues and marketing budgets and things like that.
Exactly.
Which honestly, this makes it a lot like the Sim video game developer series, where you have that type of stuff, where you have staffing and So you can do a lot with this. I think it's a very natural Sim game. I agree with you. I just don't know why it hasn't been made.
I don't know either. It makes me sad.
And of course, the main feature you need is the ability to build a haunt, and then have a walkthrough of the haunt you build.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like in Roller Coaster Tycoon, when you ride your own roller coaster, you've got to do that with a haunt.
No.
Anyways, thank you very much for spending the past hour with us. And we talked about how much we hate a fucking video game, dog. It's been good therapy for me. I appreciate it. Definitely, though, do take some time. Follow us at hauntweekly.com or hauntweekly on Twitter, hauntweekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. Go subscribe there, get caught up on previous episodes, search around, find out. Lots of neat stuff there. You can also find us on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. And of course, hopefully starting back soon, Sunday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, going back to live podcasts. We love the interactivity. We love chatting with y'all live, and it adds a whole new layer to it, and I sorely miss it. Hopefully soon, once things finish settling down. But until the next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week.